Hi, my name is Bill, and I'm on the staff at the Sudekum Planetarium here at Adventure Science Center. You may not be able to currently visit us, however you can go out any clear evening, or even early in the morning before sunrise, and admire some of the beautiful things that we can see in the sky of early May. Please note that, for this online version of Nightwatch, the sky will be unusually bright for early May 2020 because of the combination of both light pollution caused by the city lights and also the fact that the moon will be near its full phase. We'll be looking at the nighttime sky in this representation on May 5th. The full moon will occur on May 7th. So let's take a look and see what's in the current sky for early May 2020. First of all, we are looking toward the western part of the sky with the sun setting. As it gets darker, one of the first objects that you'll notice is the bright white blazing glow of the planet Venus, the second planet from the sun. Venus is extremely bright and very, very easy to see. And the reason for that is Venus is covered with thick clouds, and these clouds do two things. They reflect visible sunlight, making Venus very bright. But they also act like blankets, trapping in the infrared heat energy of the sun, making Venus the hottest planet in the solar system. How hot, you might ask? Well, if you could go down to the surface of Venus, the official observations, which were taken from orbit and also from landers in the 1970s, shows that it's about 864 degrees. So a very, very hot planet. Now, if you were to take a look at Venus through a pair of binoculars, or better yet, a telescope, you would actually see that Venus appears as a crescent-shaped object. That's because Venus is closer to the sun than we are, so we get to see it at different angles as it orbits around the sun in front of us. So currently, Venus does look like a crescent shape. Now, as it gets a little bit darker and Venus begins to set, we'll start noticing some other stars appearing in the sky. Up high in the western part of the sky, we do have the constellation Leo the Lion. To find this group of stars, look up high in the western sky for a group of stars that looks like a backwards question mark, or sickle shape in the sky. The bottom of that backwards question mark or sickle shape is the bright star Regulus. The back end and tail of the lion looks like a right triangle on its side. Now, as we move a little bit more toward the eastern part of the sky, and we'll turn around and face a little bit more toward the northeastern part of the sky, and then again a little bit toward the north, we notice the familiar group of 7 stars that forms the familiar Big Dipper in the sky. Now, the Big Dipper is what we call an asterism of stars. The Big Dipper is not an official group of stars that we call a constellation. The Big Dipper is actually part of the official constellation known as Ursa Major, or simply the Great Bear in the sky. Now, if we take the tail of the bear, or the handle of the Dipper, we see that it's made up of 3 stars. If we take those 3 stars, we see that they don't form a straight line. They actually form sort of a curve, or we could call that an arc. If we continue that arc away from the handle, or the tail of the bear, we can follow that curve down to the star Arcturus, the brightest star in the constellation Boötes, the herdsman in the sky. Now, if we continue that arc or curve from the handle of the Dipper, or the tail of the bear, past Arcturus, we can go down toward the southern part of the sky and see this bright bluish star called Spica. It is the brightest star in the constellation Virgo, the maiden in the sky. Now, astronomers have a little phrase to help you remember how to find those 2 stars. If we go back to the handle of the Big Dipper, we can arc to Arcturus, then speed on to Spica. Quite easy to do. Arc to Arcturus, and then speed on to Spica. Of course, we can't also forget to mention the moon, which will be near its full phase on May 5th, and as we can see here, it'll be very close to Spica, in fact, between Spica and Arcturus. The moon continues in its orbit around the Earth, so again, we are looking here at the moon on the 5th. The next night, on the 6th, the moon will have moved, and then on the 7th, it will have moved farther and will be the full moon for the month of May. Now, Boötes looks like a fairly big strong man. However, the real strong man is not too far away from where Boötes is. The other strong man in the sky is Hercules. If we go not too far away, more toward the eastern part of the sky, up a little bit higher, we can find a group of stars that looks like a keystone shape. Now that is part of the constellation Hercules, the strong man up there in the sky. Now some people would really like to stay up late or wake up early in the morning before sunrise. So what we're going to do now is let the Earth turn. And as the Earth turns, the stars slowly move across the sky, just like the sun does during the day. We're going to move ahead to the wee morning hours before sunrise, because it turns out for early risers, or if you really do want to stay up late, we have 3 planets in our early morning sky, and they're putting on quite the sky show. As we move to the early morning sky, we're going to look more toward the southeastern part of the sky because that's where we have a trio of planets. Here we have the planets Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars. Jupiter appears as a bright white star-like object, whereas Saturn looks like a yellowish or cream-colored star-like object to the lower left of where Jupiter is, and then farther down to the lower left of both of those planets is where Mars is, which appears as a reddish-colored star-like object in the sky. Let's take a closer look first at the planet Jupiter. If you were to look at it through a pair of binoculars, or better yet, a telescope, you might notice some little dots near Jupiter, but they are actually some of the moons or satellites of Jupiter, and they change their position from one morning to the next. A closer view, if you have a good telescope, will show you some of the cloud band features of the planet Jupiter. Jupiter is the largest planet in the solar system. Over 1,400 planet Earths could fit inside, so we're talking about a huge planet. But now, as we come back to our early morning sky, we'll go down to the lower left of Jupiter, and that's where we find the ringed planet Saturn. Taking a look at Saturn through a telescope, and you really do need a telescope for this, you can see the rings of the planet Saturn. With a better telescope and higher magnification, you might even see some other little dots nearby Saturn, and those are indeed some of the satellites, or as we like to call them, moons, in orbit around the planet Saturn. So, if you want to see Saturn's rings with your own eyes, a backyard telescope will do it. A better telescope will show you those rings even better. Coming back to our morning sky, we'll go down a little bit lower, down to the planet Mars, number 4 from the Sun. And looking at Mars through a telescope, it's not as spectacular as Jupiter or Saturn. However, if you do have a good telescope, you may see some details on the planet Mars. This planet is only about half the size of Earth, but for a small planet, it's got some big features, including the solar system's longest and deepest canyon called the Valley of the Mariner, and some ancient volcanic mountains. Those volcanoes are now extinct. Now, before I continue on, there's something that I should mention. You may have heard about, or even gotten an email about, or read online that something rather spectacular was going to be happening in the sky on May 16th, 2020. In particular, the planets Venus and Jupiter and even the moon will gather together to make a smiley face in the sky. Well, let's see what's really happening in the sky on May 16th. It turns out the moon will be in the early morning sky, and it will be a crescent to the lower left of the planet Mars in the eastern part of the sky, as we see here. I realize the moon may look like it's full in this particular image, but the moon will be actually a crescent in the sky. As we already know, Jupiter is to the upper right of where Mars is, and as for Venus, we already know that's in the evening sky in the west, right after sunset. So there will be no gathering of Venus, Jupiter, and the moon in the sky, and so you need to be aware of what you read online. Remember, you can always find out what's really going on in the sky by checking in with your favorite neighborhood planetarium, the Sudekum Planetarium here at Adventure Science Center. If you can't remember where objects are in the evening sky, don't forget to go to our website here at Adventure Science Center, and you can download our current May star chart. Print it out, take it outside with you and have it help you take a look at what's currently in the evening sky, roughly about 2 hours after local sunset. Hopefully we'll see you when Adventure Science Center reopens. Once again, my name is Bill. I want to thank you for joining us here for our quick tour of the nighttime sky. And don't forget to check into the Adventure Science Center website for more information about our reopening. And thanks for watching.